report on my trip to Brazil. Well, Nicaragua will report. So now the Brazil part, it was wonderful to be back home, to be there with my family. I had a birthday almost every day. Some people were waiting to celebrate their birthday when I was there. And I celebrated my birthday when I was there too, despite celebrating in Nicaragua. And we'll tell about the Nicaragua birthday. But at the same time, there were a lot of challenges, challenges that my family is experiencing back home, illness and difficulties. So I also ask you to please keep my dad in particular and his wife in your prayers. They're not doing so well health-wise. So that's the report. It was great, but it felt like it was the best of times and the worst of times sometimes. But I'm glad that I was there, and I'm glad that I'm back too. And some of you also know that I did spend my junior year of high school in Zora as an exchange student. I went there for 1 year, and when I got there, I had to fulfill all the credits of any junior student. I had a PE credit I needed to fulfill, and I had done some sports in Brazil, but the sports I had done in Brazil, they didn't have the teams in this high school, so I tried for basketball. I don't need to tell you how that went. And I also don't need to tell you that I didn't dare trying out for the football team or even the baseball team. So I was left with track and field, right? So I could run, and I didn't really need any technique, but going from point A to point B as fast as I could, and being a sprinter, because I hadn't had any training before, I couldn't do long distance. So being a sprinter is just you, right? You don't need to rely on anybody or anybody relying on you, and you go from A to B very fast. That's it. Simple. I thought, okay, let me try that, and I did. I did okay, and start practicing, and then I did so well that the coach said, okay, why don't you join the relay team? So I thought, oh, cool, and I was so excited. I was, finally part of a team, and we could work together. I was a little bit nervous, but we practiced, we trained. My time improved, and then it comes the day of a match. So, we're hanging around, we get on the bus, and it's really exciting. I don't know if you have done that, but it's really, I felt very special on that day to leave school early, to go to this meet, and you get on the bus, and you feel like you're a warrior, right? Going off, to bring the pride back to the tribe or something like that. I felt very special, too special perhaps. So we get to the place, and we figure out the configuration of who's going to run first. And I was put last. And I don't know if I was put last in order to be encouraged, right? Because if they all do their part, by the time the baton gets to me, I just have to do a little bit, right? I don't know if it was because of that, or because they knew what was about to happen. But okay, we set up, we're all in place, and the gun goes off, and we all, my partner's all running, and they're doing so well that the first guy gets us between the 3 first positions, and the second guy gets us a little bit closer between first and second. The third guy keeps that up, and then the baton gets to my hand, and I start running, and I'm right there. Maybe first, maybe second, and then a couple of feet before the finish line, I crossed into the other guy's lane and crossed.
Oh no!
Yes. So it was tragic. I just heard the gasp. And Joseph's like, what have you done? Yeah, Joseph, I did that. I don't know. In my mind, I don't know if it really is what happened, or I just tried to justify later on that I had closed my eyes and inadvertently crossed the other lane. But I know that it was tragic. It was really, really tragic. I was so disappointed at myself for doing that. And I don't know if I thought, well, is this like race cars, right? one car will get in front of the other so the other one can pass. I don't know if that's what crosses my mind, or like bicycling, right? You get in front of the other guy, so I don't know if for whatever reason, I failed big time. And I was extremely disappointed in myself. I was really saddened for my teammates because they had worked really, really hard. We had practice, and essentially I took a medal off their necks. And I was really disappointed. And I quit. That was it. I quit. I never went back to practice again. I was so sad and so disappointed. I quit. That was it for me. That was the end of my career. So much so that I never joined a team until I got to Yale a couple years ago. and I joined the volleyball team, and we became the champions for that year. But it was so disappointed that I couldn't do it. And this morning, I was going to talk to the kids about Thomas Edison. And I will talk to them about Thomas Edison next Sunday, so don't tell them. But I was gonna tell them about Thomas Edison because he is credited for being the inventor of the light bulb, right? But he wasn't really. There were some other light bulbs before, but they were not practical. They would burn out, and they were made of very precious metal. So he needed to find one that every household could have one, because what was the point of having light bulbs if only some very rich people could have them, and could have them just for a few hours and they would burn out. So guess what he did? Does anybody know what he did? You do? Yeah?
Bamboo?
Bamboo? I don't know about that part, if you tried with bamboo, but he tried many things. You got the point correct. He tried many, many times. And as it's recorded, about 6,000 times, he tried with different wires inside a light bulb until he got to the one that worked. So 6,000 times. Not one time failing, quitting, but 6,000 times he tried. I was flabbergasted when I heard that. When I heard that this week, preparing for the message today, and we just read from the epistle to the Hebrews, and I wonder what you've heard from that letter. Anything jumped at you? I'm putting on the spot. But to me, and we'll get a chance to go back to it, to me this letter to the Hebrews was a message to a people that were on the verge of giving up, were tired of trying even, and wanted to give up. So, the letter to the Hebrews today, in my little story that I started writing down, and I had no idea where I was going to get with the story, and I kept asking, God, where do you want me to get with this story? This is embarrassing. I don't want to tell this story. But I kept on writing, and at the end, it made some sense to me because I gave up. I gave up. The first mistake I made, I gave up. I never went back, and I didn't even give up just on me. I gave up on the team as well. So this letter to the Hebrews made a lot of sense to me, and also reminded me of a phrase from a Chinese wise man, Confucius, from the 6th century before Common Era. He said, "It doesn't matter how slowly we go, as long as we do not stop. It doesn't matter how slowly we go, as long as we don't stop." So as people of faith, we are called to run this race. And not to run this race alone as a sprinter. It's a relay. It's a relay because where we are today is the fruit and it's the labor of the people that came before us. And we must also remember that there are folks ahead of us waiting for us to do our part with that baton. Our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come. So it is a relay, not just a biological relay, that is from your ancestors to you, to your children, grandchildren, and so forth. But as people of faith and as Christians, we are all one family. So it is all the saints, all the witnesses that have come before us, the people that are working with us today, and the ones waiting right there for us to do our part and not give up. So we are called to walk with each other, bringing about not just the baton. This baton is a symbolic baton. What we are called to bring about and to carry on forward is what? It's justice. It's hope, love, and peace. That's what our ancestors and the cloud of witnesses have worked so hard to provide us with. And this is what the future generations need from us. Especially hope. Because that's very scarce. Even in the land of hope, it's been very scarce. We have gone to Nicaragua and we have witnessed that hope is very scarce. It's not readily available. Still, there was quite a bit of hope, wasn't there?
Amazing.
Amazing hope. So here in the land of hope and dreams, we need to keep that alive, right? We need to do our part. We need to keep running. Slowly as we may feel that we are running, that we are going, but we cannot stop. We have to keep going. And pass forward hope, work for justice, that somehow seems scarce. That those dreams of justice for everyone, running down the stream, still not quite there. So as we recognize the challenge, let us recognize that we are not alone, that we are not running this race in vain, that we are not running this race alone, that there's not only a need ahead of us, but there's the supply, the hope, the effort, and the blessings that we have today because of the ones that came before us. A line of ancestors who have carried the baton without giving up is behind us. A cloud of amazing women and men that have worked so hard to bring us where we are. Let us remember that. A crowd of generous human beings that offer themselves to us so we could have what we have, so we could have light bulbs, so we could have running water, so we could have books, learn doctors and nurses, teachers. It doesn't matter how slowly we go, as long as we do not stop, as we keep going, as long as we don't give up. And I don't mean that we shouldn't take vacations, right? Slowing down is acceptable. We all need our breath. So as we are running, if you need to slow down a little bit, do. If you need to let go of your pride and have somebody carry you for a little while, allow yourself that blessing of a community, of family, of loved ones that carry you for a little stretch until you catch your breath and you can run with your own legs. So it doesn't matter how slowly we go as long as we don't stop. Sometimes the road can be very rocky. The path can be on fire, hard to keep our feet on the ground. But we got to keep on going. Sometimes it may feel like you're running alone. But keep on going. Sometimes there's nothing to run towards. You look ahead and you feel like, what's the point? Keep on going. Whenever we can take another step and our pride needs to make room for the generosity of partners, just keep on going. Whenever our running mates cross into our lanes, blocking us from going forward, keep on going. Whenever we got to carry more than our load, keep on going, carrying whatever you can, because we are not running alone. And we are not running in vain. It doesn't matter how slowly we go, as long as we don't give up. From the letter to the Hebrews, and this time I will read a version. I'll read verses 32 to 38, and I'll read it from my duct tape Bible. So it's a slightly different language, but the same idea. And let me read this. I could go on and on, but I have run out of time. There are so many more. Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, the prophets. Through acts of faith, they toppled kingdoms, made justice work, took the promises for themselves. They were protected from lions, fires, sword thrusts, turned disadvantage to advantage, won battles, routed alien armies. Women received their loved ones back from the dead. There were those who, under torture, refused to give in and go free, preferring something better: resurrection. Others braved abuse and whips and, yes, chains and dungeons. We have stories of those who were stoned, sawed in two, homeless, friendless, powerless. The world did not deserve them, making their way as best as they could on the cruel edges of the world. Not one of these people, even though their lives of faith were exemplary, got their hands on what was promised. God had a better plan for us. That their faith and our faith would come together to make one completed whole. Their lives of faith not completed apart from ours. And this is a very important point here. If I had not crossed into my neighbor's lane and made the whole team fail, we would have won. And it wouldn't be just me, it would be the whole team. So, when we look back and we think of the witnesses before us, the saints before us, their labor, their work, we may think that they have made it. They have arrived, they reached the goal, they got their medal. Yes, by faith we all believe that they are resting at peace, but the work is not completed. The work is not done. Their work will only be done when we complete our job, our work, when we cross that finish line. And the ones ahead of us, the future generations, also cross that finish line. So this is not to say that you should be experiencing some dissatisfaction and be afraid for the ones that came before us. But this is to say that we're all going to have to cross that finish line. So the work is done. The kingdom of God is not of some selected few. Some Christians believe that there's just some that will cross the finish line. I believe that we all must cross that finish line, that we all will, that God is so kind and so generous, that God will find a way for all to cross that finish line. So, the saints that have come before us, their work is not done. Our work is not done. We're still here. Right, Paul? Paul always has this conversation with his mom. He always tells his mother, Mom, God is not done with you yet. There's still... And she'll be 91 tomorrow. So she's 91. She's not quite done yet. She's still here. Right? There's something. There's a point for her life. There's a point for our life. And there's something we can do to carry on that work. And we may slow down sometimes, need to take a vacation sometimes. So no matter how slowly we may go, as long as we don't stop, as long as we don't give up. Amen?
Amen.
So this is something I wanted to do the last Sunday before